Welcome to Trump Wire, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. A seismic shift is shaking the global auto industry. President Trump has unveiled a new trade agreement with Japan, replacing the threatened 25% tariff on Japanese cars with a fixed 15% rate. The White House touts this as a win for American workers, claiming it will open Japan's market to U.S. vehicles and boost domestic manufacturing. In return, Japan has pledged a $550 billion investment fund for U.S. projects, with the administration influencing where the money goes. The deal is meant to rebalance trade and bring economic activity back to American shores. For consumers, this means the cost of Japanese cars is about to rise, potentially making American-made vehicles more attractive. The administration believes this will drive more sales for U.S. automakers and create jobs in states like Michigan and Ohio. But the industry's reaction is mixed. While the White House celebrates, automakers are worried about the new landscape. U.S. companies fear higher costs, Japanese firms are recalculating, and Canada is emerging as a surprise beneficiary. This single deal is setting off a chain reaction that could reshape North American auto manufacturing for years. The stakes are high for what we drive and where those cars are built. The announcement has left automakers scrambling to adapt. The winners and losers of this new era are far from clear. The North American auto industry is entering uncharted territory. To understand this deal, look at the bigger picture of trade tensions. President Trump has long argued that the U.S. is losing out in global trade, especially in manufacturing. The threat of a 25% tariff on Japanese cars was a negotiating tactic to force Japan to the table. The final 15% tariff is a compromise, lower than threatened, but still a big jump from the previous 2.5%. The White House says this will generate revenue and push Japanese automakers to build more cars in the U.S. The deal also includes promises from Japan to open its market to American vehicles, a long-standing challenge for U.S. carmakers. The administration hopes this will create new export opportunities for American factories. But experts are skeptical, noting past efforts to crack Japan's market have failed. The real prize may be Japan's $550 billion investment fund, which the president can direct toward high-profile projects. In the end, it's a complex mix of tariffs, investment, and market access. The administration is betting this gamble will pay off for the U.S. economy, but the outcome remains uncertain. America's big three automakers, GM, Ford, and Stellantis, are sounding the alarm. They argue the new deal actually puts them at a disadvantage. Here's why. While Japanese cars now face a 15% tariff, U.S. automakers still pay up to 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, plus 25% on many imported parts. This means building a car in America can be more expensive than importing a finished car from Japan. U.S. automakers say this creates an uneven playing field, penalizing them for manufacturing at home. A Japanese car with zero U.S. content can be taxed less than an American-built car using foreign parts. The result? Higher production costs for U.S. companies, which could mean higher prices for consumers. The big three worry this will push buyers toward imports, threatening American jobs. They're also skeptical about promises of better access to Japan's market, citing decades of disappointment. Instead of helping, they see the deal benefiting their international competitors. The very companies meant to be protected are now its loudest critics. U.S. automakers warn of dire consequences for American manufacturing. The industry feels blindsided by a policy that was supposed to help them. The new cost structure could reshape the market in unexpected ways. The big three are demanding changes before more damage is done. The future of American auto manufacturing hangs in the balance. The financial fallout is already here. U.S. automakers are reporting steep losses since the deal's announcement. General Motors saw a $1 billion drop in profits in the second quarter of 2025, blaming the new tariff structure. Stellantis projects a $2.7 billion loss for the first half of the year. Even Tesla, despite its unique challenges, posted weak profits, citing tariff instability. Rising costs for steel, aluminum, and parts are squeezing margins across the industry. Companies are delaying investments in new technologies and scaling back factory upgrades. The threat of layoffs looms as firms struggle to stay profitable. The very jobs these policies aim to protect are now at risk. The industry faces a tough road ahead with higher costs and shrinking profits. The numbers are more than statistics, they represent real threats to American workers. The auto sector is bracing for more pain. Japanese automakers are relieved the tariff isn't 25%, but a 15% rate is still a major blow. Toyota slashed its profit forecast by $4.1 billion, estimating a $9.5 billion hit from the new tariffs. Honda expects a $3 billion profit reduction. Nissan, already struggling, faces a $2 billion loss. These losses represent a direct transfer of wealth to the U.S. Treasury. To cope, Japanese companies are hunting for savings across their operations. Their main strategy shifts production to North America, where cars built locally avoid the new tariff. For years, Japanese automakers have invested in US, Canadian, and Mexican factories. In fact, international automakers now produce more vehicles in the US than the domestic Big Three. The New Deal gives them even more incentive to expand North American production. Japanese firms are re-evaluating supply chains and manufacturing locations. The goal: minimize exposure to tariffs and protect profits. The shift could accelerate changes in where cars are built. Japanese companies are adapting quickly to the new reality. The impact will be felt on both sides of the Pacific. The race to avoid tariffs is reshaping the industry. The next moves will determine who comes out ahead. Amid the turmoil, Canada is emerging as a big winner. With US companies facing high costs and Japanese firms seeking tariff-free production, Canada looks increasingly attractive. The country offers stable supply chains, skilled workers, and lower tariffs on raw materials. Building cars in Ontario is now cheaper than in many US states. Japanese automakers already have major plants in Canada, producing models like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. The new US tariff structure gives them a powerful incentive to expand Canadian operations. Canada stands to attract billions in new investment and thousands of jobs. Provincial and federal governments are likely to offer incentives to lure even more production. This could revitalize Canada's auto sector and strengthen its role in North America. While the US and Japan battle, Canada quietly reaps the rewards. The shift could reshape the continent's manufacturing map. Canada's strategic position has never looked stronger. The policies meant to help America may end up boosting its neighbor. Canada is poised for an automotive boom. For Japanese automakers, moving production to Canada is a smart business move. Building cars in Canada allows them to export to the US tariff-free under the North American Trade Agreement. This saves them the 15% import tax, a huge advantage. US factories face higher costs due to tariffs on steel, aluminum, and parts. Canadian plants don't have these burdens, making them more cost-effective. Even a small per-vehicle savings adds up to hundreds of millions for large automakers. This shift could see production move from US states to Canadian provinces. American workers and communities could lose out as companies chase lower costs. The trend isn't limited to Japanese firms. European and Korean automakers are watching closely. Canada's stability and lower costs make it a prime destination for new investment. The industry's center of gravity is shifting north. Behind the headlines, real people are feeling the impact. American auto workers face uncertainty as jobs may move to Canada or disappear due to falling profits. The deal meant to bring jobs home could do the opposite. Consumers will likely see higher prices for both Japanese and American cars as costs rise. In Canada, the outlook is brighter. More investment means more jobs and economic growth. Canadian workers stand to gain what their American counterparts may lose. Japanese workers could also face job cuts as production shifts abroad. The ripple effects stretch from Kentucky to Ontario to Nagoya. The human cost of this trade war is real and global. Families and communities are caught in the crossfire. The industry's transformation is about more than numbers. It's about livelihoods. The stakes couldn't be higher for workers on all sides. This US-Japan trade deal is just the beginning of a new era for the auto industry. Other countries are scrambling to negotiate similar deals to avoid steep tariffs. The 15% rate may become the new standard for access to the American market. The upcoming review of the US-Mexico-Canada agreement could further shake up the rules. Automakers face growing uncertainty as supply chains and trade patterns are disrupted. The pressure could accelerate the shift to electric vehicles and new technologies. Governments may offer incentives to attract next-generation manufacturing. Canada is positioned to become a dominant player in North America. US and Japanese companies must adapt to survive in this new landscape. The cars we drive, where they're built, and what they cost are all changing. The global auto industry is being transformed before our eyes.